Alright, here we are back again with some more drawing, uh, sketching, design, thumbnailing, illustration, and storytelling. It's kind of been the series we've been taking on, and I've been taking some of my thumbnails that I've been outlining for ideas for characters and building them up into more finished character designs. And I like the idea of thumbnails as something collaborative. So for a lot of the character designs, I'm like, I'd love to see a lot of people's crack at it. But in developing my skills and wanting to take the my grasp of anatomy and things like surface textures in fabrics and patterns on fabrics, I'm like, oh, these are a lot of good bases. And to explore that, while at the same time giving a demonstration on how you take a thumbnail up to the next level of illustration, which is usually like you can do a thumbnail without a reference, and then you look up a couple references once you get to the illustratory process. And through that, like freeform ideation, these are just the illustrations that we completed. Yeah, yeah, looking nice, looking real nice. And then just playing, having fun, making thumbnails. And trying different things. This is all like the idea of one character. I've done a lot of them as a series of characters, most of which are in the same idea for a universe. And this is like one general idea for a character, and then trying lots of different ways that you could go about doing it. And I'll finish that up. We'll continue that. But right now, I'm going to try just like turning a thumbnail illustration. This is my favorite thumbnail illustration that I did in the entire series so far. It was a good night, and I got these three. I'm thinking of patterning and textures, and when I'm thinking about adding patterning to a world, it makes me think of incorporating different cultures and mythologies. So, if you're using like temples from India or like mosque temples, kind of like Arabic design, which I was in this instance. I finished the design. He's got the kind of sleeve and like belt cape, like Cloud Strife, and cool armor. And the patterning on the belt and the armor itself was kind of Middle Eastern influenced. And I got the idea for the name Yazif, as if, that was just his name. And I'm like, yo, let's write it down. This dude is Yazif. And then later on, I like looked it up, and the name means like king. It means winner. It means beauty. It's supposed to be like an elegant character, like a wanderer and like a bringer of change to this world. Which, yeah, it's a common theme, but it's like a fun idea, fantasy, sci-fi, mythology, and this elegant dude is like coming through in a world with like these powerful women. It's fun. It's a fun idea, and we're gonna just break into the process and take this guy up to the next level of ideation and illustration, and it should be really fun. I'm enjoying putting together the steps in the design process and in taking on each step and outlining each of the sequences, each of the pieces involved. I've been able to increase my understanding and my skill set in pretty much every area. And that is really cool. That is something I'm super excited about. And let's see. Try and put on some kind of music. We'll see. We'll see what we can get. Yeah. Go for some chill, study lo-fi. Maybe. That's good. Okay. In this instance, I'm probably not going to switch up the pose too much, but in the future and moving forward, I'll work on just all of the ways you can do this, because there's variables at every step in the process. So we might not have him look exactly the same way, or his chest tilted to a bit more of an angle here. But keep the general flow and form. Yeah. That's nice. This might be a little bit more of like a quiet. I'm not going to make any promises. This is going to be quiet. But if I'm just into like focusing here, I'm trying to break the design as well as possible. Yazif. Yeah. Patterning on the thumbnail turned out really cool. And I think I was drawing patterning from reference of just blocking in different patterns from different cultures and trying to like, you know, temple walls are a great area where, yes, it is kind of a two-dimensional pattern wrapped over a space, but in blocking in and recreating that pattern, there's an element of what you might call gesture to it. Like you choose how and where exactly to define all the pieces of the pattern. And when blocking out designs at this level, I find a gestural pattern works even better than trying to do like a finished line work, because I mean none of the forms and shapes have a finished line work, and this leg is going to be like covered. We'll have to cover it, yeah, in time, but I want to make sure that the leg reads with the rest of the anatomy too. Oh man. We might cheat a little bit here and go back and redo the design of this thumbnail or illustration. I mean, this is a character that I want to see thrive and prosper and come to life and take storytelling lead, whether you know, instantly I was kind of like, oh, this dude is the main MC, you know? This is the main character of this universe. This guy gets it. Like, he's of the universe and yet different enough from it. Like, he looks like, even in this world, like, you wouldn't see someone in this kind of attire. Go back up to 7mm lead and 5mm for details. Yeah, I like this. The idea his hand could be at his waistline. Locked into his belt. And always, I'm like putting together all of the different things you do and trying to work out a sequence for them. Probably overthinking things at each step in the process. I mean, there's like a point, you know, and I'm like, okay, as far as anatomy goes, blocking in how you memorize legs and arms, how they're similar, how they're different, how they change shapes from each angle, you know. Like the way both legs and arms, like, you know, the leg from the side is like that, and the leg from the front is like, you know, like that, right? It's like thinner. I'm exaggerating it here a little bit, but having those, like, it's like a rectangle shape and a rounded rectangle, and there's different parts that are more circular and more square. And when you figure that out, and then you do the foreshortening for bending into different shapes and angles, and then you do the box, and you get like legs and arms from each area, like those are things that I tend to just like, and then you memorize legs and arms so that whenever you have to draw an arm and a leg, you're already for it, you know? And then you don't have to, you know, give an arm and a leg to get your pose correct. Yo, I don't know if this is his music, but I'm kind of digging it. I'm digging this for sure. Okay, I'm thinking the three-pointed abs thing. We want to keep them all the same, like, length for the whole area of the armor. On his abs, and then finished belt, and ribs. Okay, this is good. Knock the hair back in the bun. I have an idea for one of those videos when I was talking about things like popping highlights with your eraser, like different steps in the illustration process, to give a bunch of demonstrations of patterns of cloth and different cloth patterns, and then patterns that you'd overlay on top of the cloth, or do like a three-dimensional overlay of what we're talking about. Like if there's a cloth, you know? And it's like, you know, and then you map out where these curves and forms are accurately, and then you take a type of pattern and overlay it. Yeah. And it's like, you know, flat there and round there. So those are like the same. And in all of these areas where the fabric itself is foreshortened, because it's at like an angle, you just take that into consideration. And even if you do this like 50% well, like you're just suggesting it, you're going along, and at all these areas you're kind of like blocking in detail of texture and pattern. And I mean, that's kind of a cheap move, but it's something that you could do quick. And then in these other areas, you know, concisely stick to the pattern that you've established, and you get this nice kind of finished, like if it's a flag, if it's a coat. And that would be a fun thing. To not only learn patterning, learn cloth texture, but to learn the way they interact together, and every single thing that you draw or design, whether it's like a dragon, right? If it's a dragon, it's got the three-dimensional form of a dragon, right? Like a dragon head, and that dragon's gonna have scales and texture on that form, and the way the scales are foreshortened would be like the cheekbone coming out towards us, and in that divot, they're gonna be foreshortened, or anytime the form is curving into the distance. Yeah, I know. I suppose we should try and give like examples of that here. Like since this cloth strap here is kind of like open on the inside. I was thinking it was open on the inside. It's just like kind of folds outside. Maybe it should be a full sleeve. This is a good time for just like breaking in all of the details for your drawing. And after this, I'd probably go in and, you know, go in and draw the character design from a number of different angles. Like we have it already, but then once you map out all of the finite details and you go back in, it's a great time to get like three-dimensional. Not only like how your model would look in all three dimensions and from all angles, but how the form would look in movement. And then you can also establish like character and abilities, at least a little bit, where depending on what type of character you're drawing, if it's a fighter or a rogue or a mage, the way that they move and their body language is going to be different. Okay, already I can feel myself like wanting to get closer to the page, and I don't know, I probably should have tried to draw this a bit larger. You go back in like round 2. That makes it a little bit more free though. If you're like, okay, it's not perfect, but what can we do in this space with what we've got? How do we line this up to get a perfect victory from where we're at with what we've got, which is always what you're working on. Okay. So there's some foreshortening around the side of the torso. Okay. And change like the scale of the head just a little bit. You can see his legs ran a little bit short. So you move the chest and the pecs down a little bit. And we gotta, you know, adjust the head as well. We can't have our Yazif looking anything less than anatomically sound. And his armor is kind of dragon scale, but I was really going for like a, you know, like a banded kind of texture. But the idea that each band could have their own patterns, sort of like a temple, and we don't have the references yet. We'll check out some references. And get back. You learn things as you go along too. Like, I can spend forever stressing over a video. I'm like, oh, how am I gonna get it perfect? And outline everything. But already I'm like, okay, this is good, but I could increase the scale a little bit because I can't get quite as close to my illustration as I can without the camera. So you pick up tips and tricks and hints and better ways of doing things, always. And pray that you always will. So we'll call this like a second draft and then work it up to a more finished illustration after. Going for some symbols on this banding. I like to think of like the RPG concept of magic equipment, where if someone has a piece of armor that has, you know, insignias and design and clear amounts of like special attention and effort put into it, that it could extend more gracious defense to the whole character. And you can tell I like to use a lot of the same types of patterns, like banding and but then when you find a new way to do it, where you're like, ooh, okay, I band a lot of textures and armors, but a type of armor plating that you don't always see, that does work and pop in a new and unique way, it feels good. Guy's got white hair, because goddamn, you know, sometimes white hair is my favorite. Yeah, I had the idea that despite being a kind of a Middle Eastern and Indian based sci-fi, that it would have kind of feminist themes. People will shit on your story pretty hard. They'll put it through the ringer if you say you're trying to write feminist themes into a story. But I like a challenge, you know? So this dude's in touch with his feminine side. And is like an element of liberation in this world. Kind of wandering samurai character. But then also maybe like a spiritual warrior and a poet. An empathic, compassionate fighter, and yet quite the fighter indeed. It'd be cool if you had like more than one weapon, and like Noctis fought with like swords and spears and stuff. As some kind of a magic switch effect. Alright, it's good. And then we make like specific bits kind of reflective and shiny. I like the idea of what you can do in comic illustration if you were using a style that could render things at different levels. Like manga is always just pen and ink outlines, but if you're using a more painterly, gesturally, speed painting effects and brushes and whatnot, you could have outfits that were infinitely detailed, and their detail would scale up to the size of the shot that you're taking. Okay. And just like this, keeping the same like diagonal curves with the flow of this waist. It's not a waistcoat. Waist belt. I don't know if there's a name for this kind of thing. It's a waist belt from here on in. We got it. Very slim armor. You know, I love Elden Ring, and a lot of From stuff has very slim design. Like the fingerprint armor from Elden Ring, oh my god, super cool. Yeah, Spirit Warrior. We'll look at this in detail later. Like the idea that the plates on the legs would kind of mirror leg muscles, but not perfectly, because leg muscles are like the thigh, and there's muscles there, and they curve like that, you know, and it doesn't like flow into as nice of a pattern as something that's like, this is the thigh, that's the knee, you know, like, or something, right? Like that, as opposed to like that, might be nice. And then there's like layers of armor. I'm glad, yeah, we've established this as a kind of just second stage of ideation. As I'm going through, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really have like everything mapped, but I do like to catch the spontaneity of a design experiment, of explorations and discoveries, so you can see them in real time. Kind of like the scales here are the scaling on some of the like dragon heads in I'm not sure where dragon heads are mostly from, but there's like a fire scale flame pattern thing. It's like I don't know if I can do fire scale flame pattern. Weakness. Show no weakness. Like that. Bam. Yo. And then there's like swirls inside of there, but these same like scale types like fill up all of the empty space, and they look really, really cool. Like at a distance, a lot of these, you know, like cathedrals and temples look incredibly ornate and complex. But at the base level, they're often just a series of small patterns and then overlaid over a composition that'll have something like, you know, a few swirls and like patterns, and then everything within that space is just like copies of the base design and the design language, and it's all consistent. And by the end, you're like, oh, how they move form and space is so cool and so subtle and just well thought out over like hundreds of years, and like multiple people, like these huge aspects of collaboration. You find that oftentimes, universally, you find like patterns of clouds and flowers, floral patterns, and the patterns of clouds, and really like that. Okay, I'll just like shut this off here so that we can have a little bit of time to prepare for like a round 2. Because it's nice to like keep a nice brisk pace when you're moving and demonstrating for video. Let's see, we'll do like a example pattern on the legs. Yeah, even that, like you don't see so much how we're capturing the movement of the cloth, but it is still evident enough where there are creases and the pattern folds together, where very, very quickly you can capture this. That's one of those things where I thought like, you know, demonstrating a pattern over a whole area That's pretty tough. That must be like difficult. But much like the walls of temples, you know, there we go. You can figure out the small pieces of it, and then there's a pattern and an art, a language to it. You know, you can figure it out with a sort of I don't want to say mathematical science because it's not quite a mathematical science, but there is a rhyme and a reason to it. You can usually figure out if something's correct or not based on the angle and everything that you have established. Okay. Yeah, the armor wrapping around the neck there in a couple of layers. That's very cool. That's very, very cool. Yeah, feminist masterpiece. This guy. Maybe we'll give him like one braid. We can't overuse things though. You can't overuse any of your design language or ideas, or you shouldn't, you know? That looks good, but honestly, I'm thinking that we might change it back to a full sleeve. Sorry to like, I'm gonna sign off right after this and that and the other. I'm so bad. After I fix his shoes. Yeah, that. Double pointed scaling and banding. And through the process of scaling and banding. With some geometric shapes as well. I want the armor to seem very mythic. Of course, this is still like the first idea of this character, and we come up with a design that captures all of the ideas and themes of our character and our story better than this. I really like this design though. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh shit. And when you look at designs all day, it's like you can get tired of looking at designs all day. And so many of them are so amazing. You're like, oh, everything's been done. You know? Like there's so many designs that are similar to all of the popular designs and then all of the popular and famous designs. And you're like, damn, how can my design world even exist in this space? But yet, with your own unique explorations and the things that you jive with, you're like, okay, yeah, some of those. You want to have at least some of like there being a point in the banding that creates a kind of wave ripple across the surface. That this has got to like hang a little bit more and hang taut across the top of the arm and then wrinkle down from that tautness to these baggy spaces. And then it'd still curve around the arm a little bit and then hang flat, you know? Like if there's your arms there and your hands there and you have a sleeve around the arm, it'll like go down around the arm a little bit and then kind of hang to a point. Right. I like this. I like the idea that I don't know, you can jump into something ambitious. I was like, oh, I should do all the side characters first and then this guy because he's my favorite. And then I'm like, you know, you want to be able to be ambitious. So while his arm and sleeve are different patterns, I'd want them to seem like they were patterns from different rooms in the same temple. Where this is like, you know, stripes like this with kind of like sun scales, half sun scales, and then it's like that. And that's the idea. And then the sleeve design is like scaled flowers in a kind of Japanese pattern where there might be like two of them there, one of them, like it's not a symmetrical pattern like this one. Or I don't know, maybe it will be in time. But I was kind of just thinking it'd be fun to integrate a different approach. Because I was looking at a bunch of Japanese stuff and they had like symmetrical patterns. Like, I don't know, if there's like a bunch of these like little dots here, it would be like a symmetrical pattern with an unsymmetrical pattern over it. And that looked just crazy cool. I was like, what wild audacity these designers had. So that's cool. Okay, slim but muscular. You know, you gotta get a Final Fantasy build. We almost caught the angle I was going for. This is good. This is real good. I don't want him to look unhappy or disgruntled at all, but like a wistful stare. It's hard to capture wistful in so few strokes, but goddamn, sometimes you can do it. Where even at this scale, where you're like, it's difficult, you can capture expression and character that reads okay, we've got to do like a shot of his head. Yeah, I like his designs do not necessarily read as sci-fi, but something ancient and powerful still within this sci-fi world. I was kind of thinking tech on like his shoulder and waistband, but even that, I'm thinking less tech. Oh man, everything that I plan for ends up being more informative than I planned. Not everything. At least the last one I did wasn't that informative. I talked about the design process. I don't want to go too close to Link from The Legend of Zelda. Neither too far. I mean, I don't know, maybe we should have no elements of Link from The Legend of Zelda. But just a heroic and striking figure, a symbol of courage. But something floral, fierce yet delicate, like water. Like wind. Very slim eyes. Not angry. Not angry at all. I like adjusting facial features is something that you do, and you just like have to put in a lot of time to really build up your subtle control of line, to be able to do it more small. And then when you can do it really small, then it's like the tiny movements of the wrist and the hand cover a great area. Whoosh. Okay. Some face tattoos, probably. We'll try not to change everything. We'll try not to change anything to make up an idea for a story. I was half tempted after making this guy to just like throw him into this Chronocypher universe, or even like, oh man, this guy could wield the thing. But then I'm like, he felt grounded to this world I was thinking of and making at the time. And that's like, that would change that whole idea. But you want to be like, you want to have a plan and a goal, and to set that plan and goal, you know, to have a compass pointing you to wherever your true north is, but be open and aware for that true north to change in a changing situation. Like, as the world around you changes, what that path is, your GPS will reroute, you know? So to hold on to that original goal, but not the original path. If your situation changes and your path changes, you should adjust accordingly. A little bit more. That. I need to practice more of the individual things, but this is helping me. This is helping me a lot, actually. So much time I just like kind of sit around being like, what should I work on out of the infinite potential choices in front of you, both on the canvas and off when you're in the preparatory stages. Just a couple of hairpins. Some Witcher hair down here? I don't think so. Nah. Our boy is not a Witcher. He goes Witcher hard. Okay. We'll try not to let this one go on. Get like a full hour. I've been loving shading stuff. Shading stuff is so cool. I've gotten better at like shading skin, and I can show you how exactly you do it. I've been watching Ahmed Aldoori shade skin like that for so long, and just being like, what the F, man, that's crazy. You just, and like instantly you have all of these smooth tones, and it took me forever to get it. I feel like you have to brush it right after you lay it on really lightly, and then kind of just airbrush it in layers like that. I could give a demonstration of me doing it a bunch of times. You have just like a bunch of different heads and, I don't know, body parts. Let's see. I have like a little bit of like a loose bun. I don't like a super tight bun. Okay. And then you come in and you just add highlights to that like soft tone that you've got going on. Wherever the highlights may be. And then like more shadows, and then you have like, if you just spend time learning where all of the shadows on the face land, and like doing reference, you know, you're gonna get darker there, darker there, darker there, soft shadow there, hard shadow there. And you can do it in just a couple layers. I think this character has like blue eyes, like bright blue eyes. Not like cloud blue eyes, but like sky blue eyes. Even maybe more pale than sky blue. Something very uncommon. But like tan skin, white hair. Yeah, I want him to be very unique though. A unique and signature look. And then you go through and you just lighten those shadows a little bit. If you're like, okay, the shadow's in the right place, but it's way too hard. Lighten shadows. Move them, remove them. All right. Poetic, compassionate, full of life. I like to think maybe he'd carry a sitar or type deal around. Maybe it's because I'm listening to this, but I could totally see him like, thinking of his past and playing a haunting sitar tune to the mists. I'm a master of telling you things about characters like it's just always been that way, like an innate fact about who this person is, as I just come up with them. But it's not like you just come up with them, but like let them come to you so that you can present things that way in a genuine type of way, because it's like the way the character is structured like flows to you like a dream, and you're just putting yourself into it. Okay, that's all we'll do for now. I'll go back and we'll do some alt designs on all of this and maybe just restructure it, and this will be like the round 2. I don't know, I think everyone's like, oh, it's cool. I do like going with like first try type stuff, Hairbands could have textures and effects. Hair's got to read as white. Haunting character, like a ghost. Oh, he's got to have a sword though. The sword has got to be at least a bit unique. What, you saying that don't look a thing like all those other swords you've drawn? We're gonna get it there. And we'll leave it at that. Peace, love.